This is INCRadio, DCEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesia ni Cristo.
Guten Morgen, guten Tag und guten Abend, everyone all the way from Munich, Germany, and welcome to INC Radio Central Europe. My name is Alessandra Martinez, and I will be one of your hosts for today. But I'm not alone because all the way from Kaiserslautern is Henry. Hello.
Hello, everyone. Aloha, and the other German words that I can't speak very well yet. Hope everyone is doing well. Again, my name is Henry Inocencio, coming to you all the way from Kaiserslautern, Germany, and it got hot again. So if I say Das Wetter ist wieder heiß, is that the correct way to say it? I think so. That's not bad.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm getting there. See, I'm learning something.
Correct.
So I may not be A1 certified, but I know someone who is A1 certified. So let's introduce again one of our favorite panelists, Chanel. How are you?
Hi everyone, I'm Chanel, all the way from Frankfurt. Happy to be here again, happy to see all of you. And das Wetter ist sehr schön heute.
Wow, okay, I see the skills coming in. Well, congrats to you, Chanel, for passing your exam, your A1 exam. And good job to you as well, Henry, for saying that correctly. That was really good. And
So
yes,
it took
I
me a while. I had to study that for a long time. So don't ask me any more questions for in German.
But of course, we will have our German is fun episode later on, so we can use that to learn more German words later in our segment Deutsch macht Spaß. Now, quick time check. It is now 8 p.m. here in Germany and currently 2 a.m. in the Philippines. So good morning to all our early birds who are tuning in right now. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. And I also want to greet everyone in the comment already. Hello po, Brother Mario Calvelo, Brother Brad Takushi. Hello, Henry. Nice to see you in the comments. Hello to Sis Rachel Inocencio. Hello to Riziel Bermosa and Ted Salvador. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now, as we have taught, our topic for tonight, I can already see a comment from Brother Mario Calvelo, and it's about meaningful conversations because the art of truly hearing others is a vital skill we all should possess, or we all possess in some ways, whether this may be in relationships, workplaces, or everyday interactions, because listening is the way to understand, to feel empathy, and to also connect. Do you agree with me on that, Henry?
Oh, yes. Listening is a crucial part of learning. It's a crucial part of making connections with others. And it's a crucial part of overall growth. Because when someone really expresses themselves to you, first of all, they really want to be heard. And no, maybe I'm going too fast. We'll talk about that more. That's a good teaser for our topic for today. Basically, we're going to be talking about how meaningful conversations change lives, and listening is the very big part of that. So, but before we do that, we always break the ice. So, how are we going to break the ice today, Ali?
Of course, with a fun icebreaker game. And I believe we're playing this game for the first time tonight, so I'm kind of excited. Kuya Tech. For a last letter, listener. Okay, this is how we are going to play it. So we'll start with a word related to our topic, which is, of course, meaningful conversations or learning to listen. And the next person gives a new word. But on this case, I kind of want to hear what the thoughts and ideas of our listeners in the live chat too. So give us a word that start with related to our topic for tonight, and the next person will give us a new word that starts with the last letter of the previous one. So for example, we have focus and the last letter is S, so the next word could be silence. And we will connect each word loose, doesn't have to be strictly, we can also loosely connect them, and we have to think quick and really listen in to to the word that was said. Okay, are we ready, Henry?
Yes, and maybe they didn't put uh the word to answer our question, but I already see a nice word to start off with from Kuya John. So the word that we're going to start with is, again, in the context of conversations and listening, we'll start with the word listening. That's from Kuya John. So that's my word, listening. Chanel, you take the next word. Listening is my word, or listening is Kuya John's word. What's your word?
Gratitude.
Okay, so Ali, gratitude is Chanel's word. What's your word?
um I know I said think fast, right? But my brain is not that fast. Wait. mm, it's not one word, but does it count if I say, wait, no, it's not G, right? It's gratitude. It's E. Okay, wait. um, oh, I have a German word though. Erzählung, which is like a storytelling. So the last letter is G.
Okay,
Erzählung.
let's start. Let's keep going with G. Uh, so when you're talking and you're listening, and then all of a sudden, when the listening is over, you're full of gratitude. Did you say gratitude already? You just said
Yes,
that. No
gratitude
wonder
was
it was so fresh in
taken.
my mind.
Sorry,
Uh,
Henry.
okay. Uh, I'm gonna. Is it cheating if I say gratefulness? It's the same meaning, but yeah, gratefulness. Just to keep it going.
Okay, spelling is very important in this game, as you can tell already. So S, I would say, mm, suddenly I forgot my English. I would say simple. Like any conversation can be simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. Sorry, Ali, it's another E.
Yeah, I just realized too. Okay, let me think of all the vocabulary that I have in my head. Um, a word with E related to our, and a comment from Kuya Tech, endurance. Okay, thank you so much for saving me there. Back to you, Henry.
Oh, so we're staying with the letter E. So, ah, uh, let's. I don't know. That's a hard one. Why are we staying with E? So, okay, yeah, Kuya Tech is really helping us out. So, when everything is when you. Oh, I got one. So I'm not gonna use Kuya Tech answers. I'm gonna say expression.
Expression is really good. So that's N, and I will stall by telling everyone in the chat, shout out to Mr. Tech. Tell him he's amazing. He's an amazing wordsmith. He's the best right now, giving us answers. So, and I would say, Mr. Tech already said it. He said noble, but I will say, um, I can't think of any word. I think of two words, like no negativity. Um, okay, we'll take that for now. No negativity, which ends in a Y. Yeah, it ends in a Y. I'm sorry, Ali. If I chose noble, like Mr. Tech said, it would have ended with an E, so I don't want to do that to you.
Okay, so why? The only thing that comes to mind is youth. I know that's not really related to our topic, but that's like the first thing that came to mind. So I'm just gonna stick with youth.
Youth. I'm trying to find the connection there. It's a stretch, but I think young ones have the most expression, so it does come into play. I think that's a stretch too. But we'll take that. So youth ends in H. So H, in terms of communication, meaningful conversation, something that starts with the letter H. I am waiting for Kuya Tech to put in. There we go. Helpful. See how I stalled there? Then Kuya Tech can provide us a very nice answer. All right, next up. So helpful, L.
Helpful, L. Okay, that's a new letter, which is good. But I also want to shout out to who somebody said it. Oh, it says Kuya John. He said nostalgic. I should have used that word earlier. That's a good one. Even Kajeri, he says enlightened. Our chat is so smart today. They are on fire. But my word is L, so I will say loving. How about you, Ali? G.
Okay, back to G. I mean, it's not a one word, but I would say, does that count? Is that considered cheating? I would say, oh, there you go, Kuya Tech, greatness. But I wanted to say good listener. Is that's good, right? That's good.
Good listener. No, I like that because I mean that goes full circle for us. And do I get to say the last word? So just to make it full circle with good listener, I will say what's the letter? Was it R? All right. So I'm gonna watch for someone in chat to give me the letter R. What? How can we end our icebreaker using the letter R to say something with meaningful conversation, to say something with listening, R. Even Kuya Tech can say something. I'll look again. Maybe he said
Henry, I saw a really funny comment in the chat with the letter Y. Daryl Lario said in the chat, listening.
listening. Okay, so listening. So with my
Listening.
little Japan tongue there, listening.
Listening is good too, but going by that logic.
And with Kuya John, he also said respectful. So yes, in the conversation, in the our topic conversation about meaningful conversations and learning to listen, it's being responsive, like Kenjin Libunao says. It's being respectful, like Kuya John says. So this is our nice transition into our topic of learning to listen and having meaningful conversations. For me, growing up from Binhi to Kadiwa to current Buklud, conversations don't end. We're always going to keep growing. We're always going to have those very important conversations that will get us through a difficult problem, to get us through not even a problem, but a joyous moment in your life. You still have these conversations to help us grow. And to have a conversation, you need someone on the other side. You need someone to look at, someone to talk to. And so listening is a very important part of a conversation because if the other person is not listening to you, it's not much of a conversation. You're really just talking to yourself. So we're going to be talking about that as we have a meaningful conversation tonight. So Chanel, you're here with us tonight. Let's brainstorm. Let's think about conversations that you've had while you were growing up, or maybe recently as you moved here, or any deep conversation that you really just cling on to because you're like, oh, I remember my mom said this, or my dad said this, or I heard this when I was receiving advice. Uh, have you ever had a conversation that deeply impacted you, and why was it so meaningful to you?
Oh, I've had many of those in my lifetime, and I would say the most impactful conversations I've had are with, my role models or my big sister figures, my big brother figures, because I would always go to them for advice, especially when I'd be having trouble understanding someone. And, it's hard, especially if this person you're working with and you're always clashing. So when I ask them for advice on how to approach the situation, because none of us wants to be uncomfortable, especially when you're always working together, they gave me new perspective. And that was a very valuable lesson that I've learned in those deep, meaningful conversations, because it taught me to see things, to help to understand the other side better. So instead of me being angry with this person, I've learned to be understanding, like, oh, this is, where they come from. This is their perspective in their life. Um, I don't have to be angry with them anymore. Instead, I can choose compassion. So those types of impactful conversations really help mold me in a way that I can better approach people from different backgrounds.
Yes, and I do really like what you said. It's of course, with what Henry mentioned earlier, when we are conversing with someone, you need someone else in front of you, and with that, it gives you a new insight to what others may have are feeling towards a certain situation, or even their point of view, which you might have not thought about, or even considered. And to just also translate that for our German viewers, Chanel mentioned, oh, let me switch to German real quick. ähm, in einer Konversation oder wenn man miteinander kommuniziert, braucht es ja, also man kann ja nicht alleine kommunizieren. Man braucht immer jemanden, mit dem man kommunizieren kann, sei es jetzt verbal oder nonverbal. Und auch wenn wir in dieser Kommunikation sind, gibt es uns immer eine neue Perspektive oder immer die andere Perspektive, die uns auch hilft, die andere Seite zu verstehen oder auch die Gefühle von den anderen zu verstehen und dadurch dann entscheiden zu können, okay, ich handle jetzt auf diese Art und Weise, ich handle jetzt mit Empathie oder mit Freundlichkeit. Und das ist das, was eigentlich Konversation ausmacht und daraus eine gute Beziehung gebildet werden kann. And I see a lot of head nods from Henry. But yes, I did just translate everything. But I want to also ask Chanel, since you gave us the insight of, you having many role models, or even like your parents, your ates, and your kuyas, and with them you were with the conversation, or even with the advice that they gave you, it molded you to be the person you are right now. And what does it or what have you learned through these kind of meaningful conversation, or what does being a good listener even mean to you?
Being a good listener means to me being a good learner. Because when you listen and you really open your mind to understanding what the person is saying, what the person is offering, you can learn so much from them, just from their perspective, just from their story. So I think listening really opens doors once you really open your mind. And a great example I want to read out from our chat from Brad Takushi. He says, listening to your children is key to being involved with their childhood issues. And I think that's something that's so important, because like as children, we're always taught to respect, to love our parents. And, we always do that. We always try to understand our parents. So I think it's great that coming from a parent to say, like, yeah, as a parent, we're supposed to make sure that we're involved in our child's livelihoods. We should listen to them, hear them out, and see what they are dealing with in school or in their personal life, just so that you can build a stronger connection. So one, you get to learn so much listening to the other person, and two, you make a connection with them.
Yeah, so that connection, you're almost on the same level. Sometimes there is a misconception that the one who is speaking and opening their heart is at a lower level than the one that is receiving. And that really is not the case. It's you're at the same level, or the one listening really tries their best to be at the same level, and you work together to solve a problem. And at the same time, as a listener, we're also learning the person's situation, understanding their situation, uh, meeting them eye to eye. And just because some of our viewers are saying it in chat, we listen to the whole story. Like I see Rachel Inocencio is saying a good listener is someone who makes eye contact, avoids interruptions, and just listens to the speaker the whole time. And Jonah Rubik, what a good listener means to me is someone who gives their undivided attention to the conversation at hand. And so it's like, you know, sometimes we feel the need to interrupt and say, no, try this. I have advice. Take my advice. Do my advice. No, it's not about the trying to be the hero. It's not about trying to immediately solve the problem. We need to fully understand the problem first. We need to fully even just let the person express themselves because they're going through a hard time, and just being able to express that. It really makes a difference to the one who is maybe in a hard situation, or maybe just trying to share good news. It's not every time someone who is having a conversation, a meaningful conversation, it's not always going to be a bad thing. Maybe they just also want to share, I succeeded in this. I had this project. I had this obstacle. I had this challenge, and I got through it. And they just want to share that joy with someone. What do you think about that, Ali? When someone is trying to share good or bad, and how should we, should we, how should we listen to that? How should we receive that? What's a good way to listen to someone who has something to say?
Um, I actually remember something that one person told me before. I believe it was my teacher. She said that one of the great conversations that usually happen or happens is when we listen more than we speak. So in order for us to truly understand what the other person is saying or what they are trying to tell us, we have to listen. And sometimes we listen to answer and not to listen to understand. And that's really what we need to, or need more to do, we need to do more, is to really listen in and understand what the person is saying. And I have a comment here from Daryl Larios. A good listener to me is someone who listens to understand rather than listen to respond. Hashtag Heidelberg, hashtag Kaiserslautern. And that is basically what I said. No, it's having to or giving the person who is speaking to you the time to talk, or giving them the space to express themselves, and for you to just be there to offer yourself as a support system to them, rather than just saying, oh yeah, but this, and then oh yeah, and this, and then interrupting them, and kind of also ruining their moment or their speech, what they wanted to say. Am I right, Chanel, on that?
Oh, 100%, Ali. And I think one example that I do want to bring up is how Germany or Germans are infamous for their blunt communication, which is quite different type of communication compared to the other world, which is much more passive, or to other parts of the world, which is much more passive. And I think that understanding the different cultures and where they're coming from, because for example, Germans may be blunt, but that doesn't mean they're being disrespectful. So as long as there's understanding all around, and like what was mentioned in the chat, making eye contact, you're not being condescending, communication comes with respect as well. And regardless of the culture, I think all of us should remember that overall, we are uplifting Christian culture. We are uplifting respect when we talk to one another, when we communicate, and that we should be kind. Just because it's your culture to sound a certain way doesn't mean you have to speak that type of way, right? So how you deliver your communication is important. And I know, Ali, you grew up in Germany as well. How has your type of communication, how is it different compared to when you speak with people from other different places?
If I'm gonna be very honest, I don't think that when I'm speaking like to you or to people, or let me rephrase that. When I'm speaking to German people, I speak to them in the German way, like how you mention it, very blunt. very direct, but still with respect, of course, because that is one of the Christian values that we are being taught inside the Church of Christ. And so, of course, even though the person in front of me is from a different culture, I still try to implement that, the same Christian values that we are being taught. But when it comes to uh, maybe family from the Philippines, I don't use the same conversation style that I use when I'm speaking to my German friends or my German classmates. I am more open, I would say. I am more lively and less blunt. I would say I'm more like on the sugarcoating side. But yes, it's really switching it up. It really depends on who you're talking to. And I do believe that all the German viewers who are tuning in right now can relate to what I'm saying, because not everyone can converse in the German type of way, because if you're new in Germany, the way Germans talk to you might be a bit shocking or surprising. Um, but do not be worried. That's how we talk. We are not disrespecting you. We are not mean. Um, it's really, like I mentioned, it's really up to who you're talking to, because of course, not every German person out there is speaking to you super bluntly or super or might come off as disrespectful. Not at all. It's really about the topic as well, what you're talking about, the environment you're in. I mean, if you're in school or at work, um, the conversation's gonna be different from when you're meeting up with friends. And yeah, what's your take on that, Henry?
So I was told, and actually I've seen this too, um, different languages have different personalities. So, you know, so I'm an Ilocano, right? So when my grandma is going full blown Ilocano, it sounds very angry, but she's telling a beautiful story of how she grew up in the Philippines, right? So languages have a personality of their own, and when I as someone who took a semester of German before in grade school, yes, it's very in English we call it cacophony. It's very the letters are very uh, hard, and that takes the personality of the German culture. And then for Chanel from Hawaii, we speak in a pidgin dialect. It's very loose. It's very smiling, and so the aloha spirit is there, and so it makes it a much more meaningful conversation always because it's so lighthearted. It's so everyone's always happy, always smiling. And English in general, like some of our viewers are putting in comments about sugarcoating uh, how we speak. Um, Maybe this is me because I am also an English major in college. English provides that flexibility to put a lot of flowery language in how we speak. And so as a listener, when you hear all that, it's very like you have to almost always speak in flowery words for the listener to uh, receive those flowers, if that makes sense. Because if you speak in a certain tone to your listener, it may not be received. So not only is there a responsibility for the listener, there's also a responsibility for the one speaking. And so conversation, communication, it's meaningful because both ends of the conversation have that certain level of respect. There's a goal in every conversation that we have to take away something meaningful, right? The person who is speaking is trying to share about their day. Like for Jonah Rubik who put, I was a good listener today when someone opened up about their stressful week. All she wanted was someone to listen and validate her feelings. I was just there for comfort. And so hashtag Heidelberg. I have to say Heidelberg because that's where I'm from. But to be that listener, to be that one to receive that stress from that person who just wanted to share with that, and then brother Brad Takushi, I agree, brother Henry says, it's full of heart and love when they express their thoughts, right? Um, it's there is that mutual of that back and forth of that communication. They respect each other. Uh, they want to help each other, even if you're the one who is speaking and sharing your problem. You still also want to help the listener to understand what you're saying. So it's it's a combination of cultural linguistics, language, that these meaningful conversations are so meaningful with the sorry for if I'm using a lot of big words, but prerequisite, or uh, the same level, or there's all these requirements for a conversation to be meaningful. Does that make sense, Ali? I think I used a lot of big words there, but yeah, for a conversation to be meaningful, it does take both sides. What's your comments on that?
I don't have anything to add because you just summarized it all. And let me just summarize that all in German. Let me switch my brain real quick. Just a short summary. Wie vorhin auch schon erwähnt, ist ja Kommunikation oder Konversation basierend auf viele verschiedene Faktoren. Und vor allem bei uns in der Kirche Christi haben wir bestimmte Kriterien, die wir oder bestimmte Dinge, die wir in der Kirche Christi lernen und gelehrt werden. Und das ist zum einen auch Respekt, was in jeder Kommunikation bzw. Konversation wichtig ist, um natürlich auch den Gegenübern zu verstehen und auch daraus was zu lernen, also von dem, was gesagt wurde, zu lernen. Also es hängt auch viel mit der Kultur zusammen. Mit wem sprichst du gerade oder aus welcher Kultur kommst du? Was wird gerade besprochen? Aber auch es hängt auch natürlich mit der Sprache zusammen und natürlich auch mit dem, was eigentlich besprochen wird, wie vorhin schon gesagt. Und ja, das jetzt auch wieder auf Deutsch und jetzt wieder auf Englisch. Yes, as you mentioned, Henry, there's just so many aspects when it comes to conversing, and it's of course respect, but not just respect. There's so many aspects, like culture or linguistic aspects, as you have mentioned, and with having conversations or learning from each other while conversing, because when we listen to what is being said, we can take something new from it. And I want to ask you, Chanel, how has learning to listen, or how has active listening helped you build stronger relationships?
Oh, I love that you asked this question because it's very relatable. Um, I want to give the example of my husband and I, American with a German. Communication is already quite different for both of us, especially coming from like women communicate differently from men. So you add that barrier of being German, and it's like, you would think that there's a lot of arguments, but fortunately in our relationship, there's rarely been any. There's a lot of harmony. And I think one of the biggest tips that really helped us in communicating with one another, especially when we're feeling very emotional, is starting off the conversation with, are you looking for comfort or solutions? And that has really helped my husband understand me, and me understanding my husband. Like sometimes I just want to vent. I don't need you to give me a solution every time. Like, just let me talk. and it's really helped out a lot and prevented a lot of miscommunication from one another. And another tip that's helped me so much too, and not just with my relationships with my husband, but also my relationships with my friends, the people close to me, because sometimes our emotions can get so heavy and so dark. And with our friends, you don't want to kind of blindside them with all that heaviness, right? So if I already know that the conversation is going to be heavy, I usually start with like, oh, hey, are you peace of mind right now? Are you okay to handle my emotions? So that they can already mentally prepare like, oh yeah, I can have this conversation with you now. Or they can tell me like, okay, I'll be done in about 2 hours. We can talk then. And from there, that just makes a really smooth transition between um, giving each other what we need in terms of communication and just having like a healthy relationship with one another without any miscommunication.
So that's a good segue for husbands. As a husband of how many years now? 13 years. Uh, this is a good chance for us to say what Chanel said is very right. Is for our wives or our partners is that is a good question to ask. Like as men, as husbands, we like to solve problems. We're problem solvers. We're all about like, okay, what's your problem? Okay, do this then. That's not the way to uh always come about a conversation with anyone, especially your wife, who sometimes just wants to uh, have someone to tell about their day, why it was so stressful. And if we always try to come back with a quick solution, then you never gave them a chance to speak because maybe they have a solution already. They just wanted to share their struggle with you. They wanted to share their victory with you. Or if it wasn't a victory and the problem still continues, they want to see your thoughts on another perspective. And that goes both ways. Sometimes even the husband will share to the wife, oh, this is what happened. I'm not asking for a solution. I just want you to hear my story. That's some of these things. If if that's the case, if we understand where they're coming from, and that's a good question to ask. What Chanel said is basically, are you saying this to find a solution, or are you saying this just because you want to share a story or a situation that you had? Sometimes we just need that what's the word, assurance, affirmation, that comfort. uh Sometimes a big hug is not always necessary. We can hug someone with the words that we choose and the way that we listen and receive what is being told to us. Uh, so yes, we know that uh, actions speak louder than words, and you want to give someone a big hug to make them feel better. But sometimes just listening can really make a person feel better. So again, this is all about meaningful conversations. And I think one of the best conversations to have as we try to wrap up this topic for now, we're going to continue this conversation, but one of the best conversations to have is our prayer, because that conversation, you may not always get the direct answer when you have your personal prayers, your devotional prayers, but we have the best listener when we have our prayers. And you'll get an answer, even if the answer is not going to be immediate. Uh, when we pray, especially if we are upholding a Christian way of life, that prayer, will always be heard. And that prayer will, res- you'll get a response to your prayer. Sometimes earlier than you think, sometimes requires a little patience, but the greatest listener we can always have uh, is the is the one on the other end of our prayer, our Almighty God. So, that's, I think we're going to pause our conversation there for now while we take our station break, and we'll read more comments when we come back. But for now, let's take our first station break. Please stay tuned. Are we okay? So let's try this one more time. So after one station break, we will be back to our topic conversation for INC Radio Central Europe. Let's take our station break.
This is INC Radio, DCEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ, or Iglesia ni Cristo.
Ready to discover your new favorite INC original music? Introducing Playlist. Tune in every Monday to Friday from 9 to 10 p.m. for a musical journey like no other. Genres like R&B, acoustic, alternative, love songs, rock, pop, hip-hop, and rap. Each day brings you a different genre of INC original music tailored to match your mood. Looking for the perfect soundtrack to your day? We've got you covered. Join our hosts as they bring you the freshest hits, timeless classics, and everything in between. Catch Playlist live on INC Radio DZM 954 kHz, on the INC Radio YouTube channel, and on the INC Production Company's Facebook page. Set your reminders, spread the word, and don't miss a bit with Playlist. And remember, it's your music, your playlist. See you there!
It doesn't take something big to show love. The right and thoughtful choices made with care can make a parent smile and turn an ordinary day into something special.
Dishes done, floors clean, a surprise mom and dad when they get here.
Wow! Hello, son.
Mom, you're early.
The house looks great.
Plus, I'm done with my assignments.
Oh, really? Oh. You always do your chores without being told. We see your effort, Carl, and we're proud of you. Here, we got you something.
What? How do you know I want this? Thank you.
A child who brings joy to their parents is blessed even without asking. In the same way, when we live to please God, He gives us more than we could ever hope for. A reminder from Made in Australia, brought to you by INCRadio Australia Satellite Studio.
Hello and welcome back to INC Radio Central Europe Satellite Studio. Hallo und willkommen zurück hier auf INC Radio Zentraleuropa. It is currently 8:39 p.m. here in Germany, and in the first part of our conversation, we learned the art of active listening, and and Chanel, and of course also Henry, shared with us the inspiring stories that have impacted our lives in so many positive ways, only through active listening. Now, before we continue with the other segments, I have been following along the live chat, and I see so many comments that I want to read out. And I have one here from Kuya John, and he said, I learned from an older gentleman that yes, dear is a powerful tool for a good couple's conversation. I see Chanel smiling. So she agrees. And I have another comment from Jonah Rubik. Communication between husband and wife can be tricky. That's why we always include God in our relationship so that we can understand each other more with patience and love. Include God in all of your interpersonal relationships. Hashtag Heidelberg, hashtag Kaiserslautern. And another comment from Lucy Montalvo. In englische Übersetzung für der Ton macht die Musik ist it's not what you say, but how you say it. That's a saying in German, actually. And directly translated is it's not the tone that makes the music. That's basically what it's saying. And another comment from Gerd Lühmann. Es ist wichtig für uns Deutsche direkt anzusprechen, aber es trotzdem mit Vorsicht gemacht werden, damit man niemanden verletzt und immer mit Respekt zueinander. Liebe direkt als hintern Rücken. Hashtag Berlin. Ja, genau, da stimme ich dir vollkommen zu, Bruder Gerd. For those who don't understand German, Brother Gerd mentioned that it is, for us Germans, it is important to be direct. But of course, we have to do it with caution. We also have, because we don't want to hurt the other person. We have to do it with respect, as we have mentioned earlier. And it is better to be direct than saying it behind other people's back. And another comment from Brad Takushi. Yes, German people are very direct, but when asking for help with the language barrier and understanding signs, they they are very helpful in explaining hashtag Heidelberg. Like I said, we're not all that mean. But now, even now, we're all tuned in through the means of modern technology, and it is so vast nowadays that even we can even converse with other people from the other side of the world, no matter what time and what day. And of course, that also is an art in conversing. Um, and I want to ask you, Chanel, how do you think we can all improve the way we listen, especially in today's fast paced digital world?
I think being in a digital world makes it so easy to communicate. And I think we forget that with how easy it is to communicate, we need to think first. So there's a saying, think before you speak. You can also think before you type. So pretty much applying that same old saying even to this digital age, because like all of the comments the chat has been saying, um, you can deliver your words respectfully. I think the best comment that I've read that sums up what I want to say is from Riza Hamoner. She said, no matter which languages or dialects we speak, we should always communicate in a Christian manner. So again, think before you speak, think before you even type. That's the best way to communicate. And plus, you don't also always have to over explain things as well. Sometimes in this digital age, we tend to overshare. Sometimes simple is best, and you shouldn't have to share everything about yourself or everything going in your life, not just for safety reasons, but just to keep some mystery in yourself, especially if you want to keep the conversation going. You shouldn't have to say so much. Allow enough room for the other person to ask you about something, just so you can have a nice conversation. And again, that's where listening comes in too. Like, for example, if you ask someone, oh yeah, what did you do today? And they say, oh yeah, I just went to practice today. And from there, you're like, oh, they went to practice. What kind of practice did you go to? So that's just one example you can kind of build off of without oversharing and also listening at the same time.
So I see a comment from someone very important to our district, uh, from Miss Malou Francisco, saying communication is the heart of any relationship. Effective communication leads to healthy relationships. That is a very key, very important very important comment from someone we hold very dear. And this is actually a good transition that as we are in this country, we do need to learn how to communicate in this language. So as we are about to transition to our one of our favorite segments, again, we will now step into learning more German, more Deutsch in our favorite segment, German is Fun.
German is fun. Deutsch macht Spaß. Hello everyone. Hallo zusammen. Welcome to German is Fun. Willkommen zu Deutsch macht Spaß. I'm Marilu Francisco, bringing you another session of basic German. All we need to do is listen, repeat, and let's have fun learning another language. German is fun. Deutsch macht Spaß. For today, we'll be learning basic German words and expressions related to communication. To be specific, we'll be focusing on active listening. German is fun. Deutsch macht Spaß. Word number 1 for today, communication. Auf Deutsch, die Kommunikation. Take note of the suffix or the ending tion. You pronounce it in German as schon. In our daily life, we do our very best to have effective communication, especially with our loved ones and friends, and with our co-workers. We say that effective communication leads to healthy relationships. Effective communication, effektive kommunikation. Effective communication, effektive kommunikation. If we want to have effective communication, it is important that we are good listeners. And that's why we say active listening is very important.
German is fun. Deutsch macht Spaß.
Zuhören can be a verb and it can be a noun. Now let's use this German word in simple sentences. Okay? I am a good listener. Ich bin eine gute Zuhörerin. Ich bin eine gute Zuhörerin. If it's a male person saying, I am a good listener. Ich bin ein guter Zuhörer. Ich bin ein guter Zuhörer. I am a good listener. I can say, ich kann gut zuhören. Let's say the teacher is giving some directions. The pupils are listening attentively. Die Schüler und die Schülerinnen hören zu. Die Schüler und die Schülerinnen hören zu. Die Schüler und die Schülerinnen hören zu. Parents, if you want to tell your children, listen well. Kinder, hört genau zu. Kinder, hört genau zu.
German is fun. Deutsch macht Spaß.
Let's review some of the German words and phrases that we learned today. Communication, die Kommunikation. Active listening, aktives Zuhören. I am a good listener. Ich bin eine gute Zuhörerin. If it's a male person saying, I am a good listener. Ich bin ein guter Zuhörer. Ich bin ein guter Zuhörer. I am a good listener. I can say, ich kann gut zuhören. Children, listen very well. Kinder, hört genau zu. Die Schüler und die Schülerinnen hören zu.
German is fun. Deutsch macht Spaß.
This has been today's episode of German is Fun, Deutsch macht Spaß. Thank you so much for joining me. Danke fürs Zuschauen. Bis zum nächsten Mal. Here is Marilu Francisco saying, Tschüss, ciao, bye.
German is fun. Deutsch macht Spaß.
Amalu for teaching us new words and phrases in German oder auf Deutsch. And I can tell by the comment that we all love German is fun. And I want to test Henry's knowledge on what he has learned from today's German is fun.
I think this is becoming a follow-on segment to every German is Fun segment. So, okay, so ich bin eine gute Zuhörer. Did I say that correctly? I think I'm a good listener because
Yes.
I have effective communication. Did I say that
Wow.
correctly? That's my grade. Miss Malu in chat, if you can give me a grade, I will hang that on my wall, no matter how good or bad. And I just want to see my progress. Back to you, Ellie.
Okay, very good, Henry. And of course, to our dear viewers and listeners, if you're interested in learning more German vocabulary, you can search on YouTube INCRadio DZM German is Fun, and there you can rewatch all the German is Fun episodes. Now, before we end our broadcast, we have a Christian music video we will share tonight with the title "We Will Be Blessed, wir werden gesegnet." Enjoy! Take. Let's try that again. Please show us the CMV for tonight.
Sind wir auf der Suche nach Ruhe und inneren Frieden? Sehen wir uns nach Zuflucht, Hilfe und im Licht? Es gibt eine besondere Zeit, um das Ersehnte zu spüren. In diesen Zeiten erhalten wir die Kraft. Der einzige Ort, wo wir wissen, es ist dort. Frieden finden wir dort und unsere Seelen werden ernährt. Gedankt bedanken wir uns bei Gott für jedes Mal, wenn wir uns versammeln, um ihm zu dienen. In dem Haus unseres Vaters, denkt stets daran, Gerechtigkeit, Liebe und Gnade werden wir finden. Gesegnet werden wir dort. Gesegnet werden wir dort. Versäume keinen Gottesdienst. Vergiss niemals unsere Pflicht. Durch viele Prüfungen wird unser Glaube stets gestärkt, wenn wir uns vor ihm versammeln. Wir erhalten seine Segnung, wenn wir unseren Gott unaufhörlich dienen. Der einzige Ort, wo wir wissen, es ist dort. Frieden finden wir dort und unsere Seelen werden ernährt. Gedankt bedanken wir uns bei Gott für jedes Mal, wenn wir uns versammeln, um ihm zu dienen. In dem Haus unseres Vaters, denkt stets daran, Gerechtigkeit, Liebe und Gnade werden wir finden. Gesegnet werden wir. Der einzige Ort, wo wir wissen, es ist dort. Frieden finden wir dort und unsere Seelen werden ernährt. Gedankt bedanken wir uns bei Gott für jedes Mal, wenn wir uns versammeln, um ihm zu dienen. In dem Haus unseres Vaters, denk stets daran, Gerechtigkeit, Liebe und Gnade werden wir finden. Gesegnet werden wir dort. In dem Haus unseres Vaters, denk stets daran.
And that was Brother Josh in our CMV. Shout out to our brother Josh for always representing our district very well. And now we will directly proceed to see who was the top 3 clusters of our last broadcast. So please continue to always put in your hashtag of your cluster and local congregation so we can always see who is the most active in our district. So let's find out now who are the top 3 clusters.
Third place, Zurich Cluster. Second place, Berlin Cluster. First place, Heidelberg Cluster.
And congratulations once again to our top 3 clusters. Heidelberg won again this week. I don't know what to say. Berlin, what's happening? Just kidding. I don't know if we're gonna get for next week, but we're coming to the end of our broadcast today. So we'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. Thank you to Chanel for taking your time to join us in our broadcast. Thank you to all of our viewers and listeners for watching. Thank you to our district CFO advisor, Brother Scott Augustine, to our assistant district minister, Brother Jake Edick, and thank you to our district minister, Brother Joel B. Catalan. Ali?
And we also want to thank and shout out our INC Media Productions Chief, Brother Montreville Boy. And thank you to our INC Radio Station Manager, Brother Wally Taray. Thank you also to our CFO Coordinator and CEBSI President, Brother Ralph Francis Esguerra. And thank you to our Deputy Executive Minister, Brother Angelo Eranio Manalo. And last but not least, thank you to the church administration and our beloved Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. We love you po, wir lieben euch. Nochmals vielen Dank fürs Einschalten heute Abend und wir freuen uns, euch das nächste Mal zur gleichen Zeit wieder begrüßen zu können. Once again, we thank you for watching INC Radio Central Europe. See you next time.
This is INC Radio, DCEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio